I'm Jay Addison from EventChain.io for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. Today on Blockchain Interviews, Ivan Rogachyov, investment banker. Ivan, how are you doing today?
I'm good, Jay. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. Tell us a little bit about your background in business and finance.
So my background has been, ever since I can remember myself, I've been really passionate about finance. I know it's a weird thing to be passionate about, but I remember just reading my first book, which was The Alchemy of Finance by George Soros, and the whole world of finance fascinated me. So I went on, started reading more about finance, like a cool old historical books about how Wall Street used to be, and the whole world fascinated me. So I bought my first stock when I was 16, ended up going to school for it, and my first job actually associated with finance was me selling marketing contracts to bring in investors to publicly traded companies. And then through my way around, I ended up kind of being on the investment banking side, helping companies raise money, actually advising them what's the best way to take their company public, and working in the whole venture space. And so far it's been a very good experience for me, and I've enjoyed every second of it.
Now, there's a lot of companies in the blockchain sector right now that have been doing ICOs, and a number of them have also been moving into the public sector. Tell us why a company that is in the blockchain sector would want to go into the public market to be listed on an exchange.
Tell me, isn't it crazy? What is it? There has been like around 1,200 different ICOs that have happened over the years. And now some of these guys are actually wanting to go public. Well, I'll say one thing, it's definitely not for everyone, because some companies have just went out there to make a coin, and that's how they decided to create value. But if you're a company that went into this space to create a company, and ICO was just a way as a means to an end for you to get some initial financing and to be able to grow your business, then public markets are absolutely a way to go for you. People tend to overthink how complicated IPOs are. You should definitely hire professionals, but it's a very manageable process. And the cost over the years was the technology has gone down a lot, like a very significant amount. Without the lawyers, the whole process will only cost you about $50,000. Lawyers, if you can get a good deal, maybe another $50,000 or $60,000. So it's not that expensive to be able to do an IPO these days, just from the legal standpoint, getting all the financials and everything.
Okay, so what are some of the challenges of going public? Like a CEO of a blockchain company today that was thinking about it, what would be a couple of the obstacles that they'd have to overcome?
Well, that's a good question. Before, the challenge was it was just so damn expensive to list your company. It was so expensive for you to be able to exist on the exchange, and the number of compliance issues as a company that you go through was very, very rudimentary. Now the world has changed. The most challenging part about becoming a public company is actually getting enough financing and having enough money to be able to list. So the most challenging part is actually finding a guy like myself or different independent groups that are going to go out there and raise money for you, get investors, get you over the minimum threshold. And everybody should know about this. If you want to list on the exchange, you need to have a minimum, depending on the exchange, about 150 to 200 different shareholders in your company. And getting the capital and getting that number of shareholders is the most challenging part. But however, there are many ways of being able to do it, and hundreds of companies have done it. So capital markets can be a very great space for you to be able to access capital and to build your business long term. And I don't encourage guys that want to just use public markets to just get their company listed, sell their stock, and yeah, Bob is young girl. That's the end of the story. I would never work with a guy like that, because it's never going to work anyway. Realistically, most of the companies that should be getting listed on the exchange are the ones that want to build their business for the next 5 to 10 years. And those are the companies that we would like to work with, and those are the ones that end up prospering.
Now, if a company, whether it was a blockchain company or any other company, wanted to do an IPO, what would be the first step
The first steps, there will be a few, but you can start in many different places. But number one thing is that you should be worried about is making sure that you have enough capital to be able to go through the IPO process. Not only to pay for the lawyers, but to have a lot of spare capital for you to sustain yourself for some time. So what I would look at is finding people that will raise capital for you, and the rest will work itself out. Because if you have a good law team in place, you have good management for the company, all these things will be able to get sorted out. The most challenging thing that I find is that I see with companies is they just can't get enough capital for them to be able to stay operational for a long enough time, and they can't bring in revenues in the amount of time that the market expects them to do so.
Okay, so my next question, and you almost answered it there, but my next question is going to be, do all companies do well on the public market? And maybe you can just answer that for us.
Yeah, so this is kind of double-edged question. There are companies such as, I'm not sure if you heard of the iced tea company. It was just a random company on the East Coast.
Yeah, that had added blockchain to their company.
Yeah, they ended up adding blockchain to their name, and then their stock went from like
500%
to $8, and it was just ridiculous how much it ran up. So short term they did well, but long term, if with a plan or a vision, their company is probably not going to do well long term. Not all companies do well long term, but if you have a good management that actually wants to build their business, and they exist just like any other company would, and at the end of the day their intention is not to sell stock but to grow business, build shareholder value, and make their dreams come true, those are the companies that tend to do very well. And number one thing that I'll say once again, the main thing that everybody should look at is the management team that the company has. So if you have a good management, you're well financed, the stock market is going to be a great place for you to build value for your shareholders and grow your business for the next 5 to 10 years.
Ivan Rogachyov, it's been fantastic having you on Blockchain Interviews today. Thank you very much. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you and learn more about IPOs or any of the information we discussed today, how would they get a hold of you?
Yeah, absolutely. People can actually reach out to me. I'm pretty open. You can reach out to me on social media, or I can give you my email. And my email is pretty simple. It's just ivan.a.rogachyov, just like the last name here, @gmail.com.
Fantastic.
And you can reach out to me through that.
I'll also add that into the description below.
Perfect.
Once again, thanks for being on the show today, and we hopefully will do a follow-up in the coming weeks. Thank you, Ivan.
Sounds good. Thanks, Jay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.